Welcome, and today I have author Laura Frantz. Thank you, Laura, for joining me.
Wonderful to be here. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure to get to know you these last couple days that or day, I guess, that we've been here.
We had lunch together, and that was delightful.
Yes, it's been such a privilege to get to know all of you authors. And if you could just kind of introduce us to yourself and the types of books that you write.
Sure. I'm Laura Frantz, and I have been writing since the age of 7. It just kind of hooked me way back when. That was a long time ago. And I've been publishing since 2009 when my debut novel released. It's called The Frontiersman's Daughter. So I'm up to novel 15. And my books are mostly 18th century historical fiction, a little romance in there too. And I've just always been fascinated with historical, the different eras, but primarily the Georgian or colonial American period. Just got me and won't let go, so expect more.
Do you know what it is about that you're drawn to it?
Well, our country, of course, was founded in the 18th century, and there was so much at play. I mean, it was truly historical fireworks. So there's just a lot of novel fodder in that century to draw from. The 19th century saw us making huge leaps and bounds with, the Industrial Revolution and things like that. But the 18th century was just when our foundation was laid as a nation, and there were some amazingly heroic people, men and women. I think of George Washington and George Rogers Clark, and then, Martha Washington played a huge role, Abigail Adams, Dolly Madison came a little bit later, but those just are continually inspiring even today. And I think one of the reasons I love to write is to keep that history alive. So people, are kind of out of touch. We're becoming historically illiterate.
I agree.
And I try to, I think, writing fiction, kind of refocuses that lens on history and our beginnings. And it's extremely relevant to where we are today. So,
And I kind of sometimes feel like history is repeating itself here.
And we don't learn from it necessarily, and we need to.
Yes. So, where do you draw your kind of stories from? How does that
Excellent question. It's always in research. I did my only series. It's called The Ballantine Legacy, and it was all based on a little nugget of research I found about blacksmiths in the 18th century, colonial America. They often, they were apprentices before they became master blacksmiths, but when they were apprentices, they were expected to marry into the master blacksmith's family, and that's something that's very foreign to us today. But that became the Ballantine Legacy and carried 3 books, that kind of little romantic hook that I used to start that series. And it was just fascinating to me. So it always begins with a nugget of research, and then I just usually roll with it, and you just kind of flesh it out. Writing's a gift. I couldn't work this up if I tried, so the Lord gets all the credit for anything that I produce.
Yeah, and how do you feel you stay creative? How do you keep these stories rolling?
Another wonderful
flowing?
Question. Oh, I was born and raised in a national park, Mammoth Cave National Park in Kentucky, and I spent my formative years, teenager and young adult, working in different national parks. And I live now at the gateway of Olympic National Park in Washington State, and my husband's a native of Washington. I'm a Kentuckian. And nature is just, we live beside these glacial lakes, these mountains, the beaches, and I just find so much inspiration from nature. And we forget that our ancestors lived very close to nature, the soil. I mean, they rose and they got up with the sun, and when the sun set, they went to bed. And we've kind of lost those natural rhythms. And so nature just is continually inspiring and kind of keeps me connected to the people I write about, 200 and 300 years ago, because very much lived on the land. We've done a lot of the homesteading stuff, a little more refined now, 30 years later, but it's just endlessly creative, endlessly inspiring to live by a national park and take advantage of that.
Yeah, so last night I got to sit around a room with all of you authors, and there were some questions that were we each had to answer, and I don't remember the question that was asked, but I remember what you said, and it really hit me, and it was that you had read somebody.
Elizabeth Gouge. We were asked, the question, I think, was, who is an author not in this room, in our room last night, that you've admired and that shaped you as an author? And I said Elizabeth Gouge, who passed away. She died in 1984, I believe. And I wanted to, after I read a couple of novels by her, I wanted to retire my pen, I said, or quit writing, because she's so elevated a writer, and she writes with such a richness and depth. And I thought, I should just quit. But then I thought, no, rather than be discouraged by that, I'm going to be inspired by that, and and just continue to write what I can write. I'm not Elizabeth Gouge, and just do what I can with the gift that's been given.
Yeah, so that is something that I struggle with, is comparing.
A lot of people have a battle.
And it's like, you can't accept you are who you are.
The grass is not always greener.
And we each have gifts.
Yeah.
And my gift maybe just isn't as good as the other gift, but
it's still valuable.
Still valuable.
And you're here for a certain time, for a certain purpose, and you have to just focus on that. And when you refocus, all of that, goes away. The other negatives.
Yes.
So thank you for reminding me of that. I'm glad it resonated.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, well, I appreciate you being on the show with me, and
I'm so delighted. You just make it so easier, just natural. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And so, Laura, how can people, find out more about you, connect with you?
I'm very active on social media, and I have a beautiful new website, laurafrantz.net. Just type in LauraFrantz.net, and everything you want, probably more than you want to know, will show up on that website. I'm very active on Instagram. That's my social media of choice. I have an author page on Facebook. My publisher is Baker Publishing Group. All my books are there. Also, I'm on Amazon, any retail site online, and often in your brick and mortar stores like Barnes & Noble, and you have some fine ones here in Minnesota. So, thank you. I'd love to see you.
Yeah, thank you, Laura. Yeah. Thanks for watching.